All right, shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well. Peace and salutation unto the Lord's elect. This is Brother Yahweh Sop. And this quick little response video to an individual. So lucky there's the background noise. I have the cats running around. Right when I want to start doing a video, they want to start acting up. But there was a individual on one of my posts scoffing and mocking and saying that this is a joke, and then this other individual that says he's from the Virgin Church of Jesus Christ and he's a Judite, goes by the name Server 144K. Basically, is going and writing all this crazy stuff. Trying to tell other people what the mark that the mark is something other than the RFID microchip, and we just have to call it out how it is. But I'm gonna read it quick and bring out some scriptures. But he says the true mark of the beast is being made in the image of the beast. The image of God is about your genes. That's what the book of Gene Assist is about. Genes, genetic modifications from angels. Pure genealogy from Adam, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. Once your DNA is manipulated from its original form of 10565, which is the name of God signed on your very being, because 10566 represents a pattern found in all human DNA. There are 10 base pairs of DNA, then a bridge, then 5 followed by a bridge, and 6 pairs followed by a bridge. And then he continues to go on and he says the 10565 converted to Hebrew alphabet is Yod-Heh-Vah-Hey, or Yah, with Yod being the 10 letters. So just honestly, just blabbing. Blabbing makes no sense at all, and ultimately leading the flock astray, because people that come on and see comments like this, they get confused. You're just sowing discord and confusion. And I'm going to bring out a couple of precepts. So yeah, actually, that's spirit right there, because I had that right there. There's a book of 2 Timothy 2:16 through 18. But shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase on to more ungodliness, and their word will eat doth like a canker. Of whom is Hymenaeus and Palladius, who concerning the truth have eared, saying the resurrection is past already, and overthrow the faith of some. So, you're just spreading words like canker. Canker is like cancer, right? Yeah, so you're just spreading like just a bunch of blabbing, and you're just causing a lot of confusion. You're overcomplicating things too. Not only are you overcomplicating things, but you're preaching doctrine that's incorrect. And I have this other precept in the book of Titus 2:1. But speak the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, charity, and patience. So you have to be speaking sound doctrine. You can't be going and speaking what you think is correct or what you think is the mark because it feels like in your heart that's the right way. What does it say? The heart, let's bring that out. Heart is deceitful. It says it right here, Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So you can never, rely on your heart or your own vain opinions, and that's just the flesh. And ultimately that guy, I don't know where he pulled that out of, but he's just uttering confusion, and he's just going based off how he feels. And I've rebuked the individual multiple times, but he still continues to comment. And, honestly, what does it say in the book of Titus 3:10? You can't keep bothering talking to these people like this. They want to scoff and then just speak according to a different doctrine, and they don't want to hear the sound doctrine that you have. You know, then you gotta have nothing to do with them afterwards. And just plain and simple. It says in Titus 3:10, a man that is and heretic after the first and second admonition rejects. So, I warned the guy multiple times, and that right there is the last straw. There's nothing that pisses me off more than individuals that come on and they want to break down the mark and say it's something completely different, like the name JC on your forehead, or not keeping the Sabbath, or not keeping all the laws. Just makes no fucking sense at all. Honestly, I'm just gonna put it like that. It makes no sense at all. How can you buy or sell with the name JC on your forehead, or how can you buy or sell if you're keeping the Shabbat, the Sabbath, one day compared to another? We're supposed to rehearse the righteous acts while we're here. We can't keep every single law and every single Sabbath to a T. Because after all, we're living in this flesh. That's why we have the grace of Yahweh Shai, and His mercy. But it's just individuals like that that just speaking just craziness, man. Just what does it talk about? Scoffers. Who said this? Hold up, I think it's Second Peter. Knowing this first, that shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust. So I deleted the comment of an individual previously that was just scoffing on Great Millstone and the Mark of the Beast, and honestly, you see something like that, and it's just words at the end of the day, and but these people are scoffers, and it's gonna bite them in the ass. At the end of the day, they've been marked. You want to go around and you want to scoff and mock and make fun of the men of the Lord that are going out and doing the work to the best of their abilities, and you want to scoff and mock them, and then go with your own fabricated idea of what you think the mark of the beast is, which is totally incorrect, and you're leading the flock astray in your confusion. You know what? Blood's going to be on your hands. What does it say? Better for a millstone. It says it would be better. This is Luke 17:2. It would be better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, that he cast into the sea, that he should offend one of these little ones. So if you're offending the children of the Lord that are out here doing the work and preaching, and spreading the gospel and waking people up to what's going to happen, the prophecies, and you're offending them, and you're speaking down on them, you don't know you don't know who you're dealing with. That's why it's very important, how you deal with your fellow brothers, fellow Israelites. Don't just be thinking you could just come on and just talk to somebody some type of way, man. Because it's just not good. The Lord doesn't like that at all. That's frowned upon. You know. Let's see this. So, yeah, Psalms 58:3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born. Be born speaking lies. So it says their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder stoppeth her ear. And that's a great verse right there, because it just highlights, you know, the retardation of some of these individuals. Like they think that they're going and doing a good thing. Meanwhile, they have no work at all, and they're just scoffing and mocking. When the brothers here, me, the brother Barack, we're going and trying to do our best. And as we're doing the best of our ability to wake up, and hopefully fish for the elect, and alert them to these prophecies and things to come. There's stumbling blocks.
We do all this research and then we tell people about these prophecies, right? And then they come along, say, no, it's not actually this, when it's complete misinformation, and then someone is like, oh, well, someone out there is gonna fucking believe it. Usually people are very naive. One or two people will just fucking believe it.
Yeah, and then that actually translates to more people being confused. What does it talk about confusion? For God, for Yahweh, Salakia, for Yahweh is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints. So, and it continues to say, this is the book of 1 John 4:1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they have Yahweh, because many false prophets are gone into this world. So, You got to ultimately test people just because that guy is saying shalom and he has his fringes. And don't just trust this guy. He's like, yo, you're an Israelite. I'm an Israelite too. That's just a start of knowing that you're an Israelite. Then a lot of people were brought into this with the sole purpose of being destroyed or having a judgment, put on them because they end up doing worse. It'd be better for them to not even be in the truth or to know about, the fact that they were an Israelite, and ultimately the Lord, he makes things simple. Milk, there's the milk and some things are beyond our understanding, but there are other things that are clear cut. And the Lord, if He gives you the spirit to understand it, you're gonna resonate with it, and it's gonna you're gonna be it's gonna make sense to you. But the reason why a lot of people have a problem is because ultimately the Lord's not dealing with them like that. He hasn't put the spirit on them to discern. You know, and let's see. Yeah, and that's why First Peter 5:8 it says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." So, don't be surprised, man. Even our own people, man. These Israelites and these other congregations and camps, they were maybe brought up in a certain way, and they go around, and it's almost like it's like a poison. It's like a poison because they're given their poisonous venom and given doctrine that could actually harm people. Because let's just say, look at Nathaniel from IUIC. He's going around making fun of the mark, and making jokes about it. But when that time comes, what do you think they're gonna say? You know, it's either he says, Apostle Tahar, Apostle Gabar, Apostle Ramlab, and Apostle Rakar were right, or he ends up leading his congregation to take that and make them believe like it's not that big of a deal. And at that point, the blood's on his hands, and he's gonna get utterly destroyed for that. And the same thing is with these other people too. You know, that's why it's very important to be sober and vigilant because you got to be able to discern um, these false prophets, and that comes with being wise as a serpent. Because you want to be wise. You want to be wise. You want to pick things apart. You want to marinate on things. You don't just jump to the conclusion and agree with whatever somebody says because the doctrine sounds correct. You gotta make sure it's according to the scriptures. But this says, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves." And it says, "Speak according to the oracles." So this is 1 Peter 4:11. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Yahweh. If any man minister, let him do it as the ability which Yahweh giveth, that Yahweh in all things may be glorified through Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. So, you want to make sure you're speaking according to what these scriptures talk about. Don't be breaking things down your own way. Don't be breaking things down in a different way because you're doing a disservice not only for yourself but for the people out there that are trying to learn sincerely. You're like the brother Barak said, being a stumbling block in the highest form. And breaking down something like that, a really severe and important, thing, the mark of the beast. That's a very important topic and subject. It's not to be taken lightly. That's a salvation. If you take that mark, you're not gonna receive salvation. You're gonna be tormented forever. You're gonna be destroyed. So, you know, very important to speak proper. And for those of you that are, oh, well, what is a mark? If you haven't heard of that before, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna bring it out. And the mark is the RFID microchip, and we're gonna go into Revelation 13 and 16, and it says he called. Um, actually, yeah, he causeth all, both small, great, rich, poor, free, and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had that mark, or the same of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let them that have understanding count the number of the beast, for the number of the man, and his number is 600 score and six. So you see, that's where that individual that was commenting that got confused because he took that last part and then started getting really deep into numerologies and making his own assumptions. When in reality, the truth is, right above that, it says that he causeth all both small, great, rich, and poor to receive this mark in their right hand or on their forehead. And if you go and look in the Strongs what the mark means, because a lot of people think it's a name being branded on their head, or it's like I said, the name JC, or not keeping the Sabbath, And if you really look at it, Mark G5 480 Sharagma. Let's listen to that right now.
Strong's G 5480 Charagma. Charagma.
Haragma. And it says a stamp or imprinted mark. Of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. The mark branded upon horses, then carved, sculpture, graven work of idolatrous image. So carved. It's an incision, it's a marking, it's a stamp. And that's gonna go with what's going on right now. The Neuralink is gonna play into that, and it's gonna be the RFID microchip, radio frequency identification device. That's gonna be able to track you. It's gonna be able to have all your whereabouts when you step out, your heart rate, what your brain's thinking. You're not gonna be able to think for yourself. And ultimately, taking that mark is going to destroy you because you're submitting to the ways of this wicked, temporal, evil world and its system, Esau's system, the devil, and you're not submitting to the Lord Yahweh by Shema Shai. You didn't have that faith to resist and have that temptation to resist the temptation. You took it, and you have to really fight and do whatever you can not to take that, because if you do, you're going to get destroyed. And you might say, well, how did we know that? Well, let's go into the next part where it says, yeah, uh, right here, Revelation 14:11, and the smoke of their torment descended up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever received the mark of his name. So when you receive that RFID microchip, you're worshiping the beast, man, his image, this system, this evil, wicked system. You're not trusting in the Lord. You're trusting in the government and these evil principalities and rulers that govern this world right now. You know, and you're going to be tormented. And we go to let's see if there's anything else I can bring out, because I believe there's one more thing. Uh, yeah, and actually, let's yeah, in Revelation 16:2, and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and a grievous beast, a grievous sore upon all the men that had the mark and the beast, which worshipped his image. They were testing this mark, RFID microchip, on rats, and the things that started growing inside the rats compared to the rats that didn't have it, it was terrible. I don't want to go into it because I don't want YouTube to flag me for saying the word, but it was spreading, and just don't be surprised. For those people that take it, they're gonna think it's all nice and dandy, and then time's gonna go by, and they're gonna be utterly fucked because they're gonna have all sorts of sores and things starting to develop that they didn't have before they took it. You know, and it continues to say, and the beast was taken with him, and the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, which he had deceived them that had received the mark of the beast mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. Both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. So what does that say? The false prophets that had wrought miracles before him and deceived them that had received the mark. So if you're going around and you're that false prophet that, you know, is saying that this is fine, don't worry about this. This is innovation. If you're one of those Christian pastors that's talking like that, you're gonna get destroyed. And that also goes for you Israelites out there that are speaking against what the mark truly is. Once again, it is the RFID microchip. And stop thinking that it's something else or coming up with your own assumptions, man, because it's a very dangerous thing and you're going to get judgment for it. Stop playing around. Repent from that and learn from the true doctrine, the apostles and elders at Great Millstone, from Apostle Bahar on down. So it's a quick little lesson today. I pray that you found that edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Want to end off by giving all the glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace and salutation unto the Lord's elect. Once again, this is Brother Yosap. Shalom.